Hello everyone. I'll be talking about management of traumatic cataracts, which is always a difficult scenario for an anterior segment surgeon. And trauma can affect the lens in basically two ways, either by blunt trauma or by penetrating injury. And the mechanisms can be because of traumatic COP injury, traumatic contra-COP injury, equatorial expansion of the globe. So whenever the anterior surface of the eye is hit by a blunt object, there will be shortening of the anterior posterior diameter along with expansion of the equator, as you can see in this picture here. Sorry. So because of this equatorial expansion, there will be stretching of the zonules, leading to disruption of the zonules and even subluxation and dislocation of lens. It can also lead to even rupture of the anterior or the posterior capsule of the lens. This equatorial expansion can also lead to damage to either retina or choroid as well. So, and penetrating injury as well as the mechanism you can see in this picture. So, a patient with penetrating injury can, present with tear involving either the cornea, sclera, even iris, and anterior lens capsule, and sometimes there can be a rupture of the posterior lens capsule. There can be intraocular foreign as well. In the picture on the left side, you can see a eyelash in the anterior chamber, and on the right side, you can see a intralenticular foreign body with early signs of siderosis. So the cataract can be of various types, starting from focal to total or membranous. And the posterior capsular tear can be of two types, type 1 and type 2. The picture on the left side, you can see that is the type 1 tear where the margins are quite thick and fibrosed. And it suggests that the trauma has happened long back. And one of the advantages is that during intraocular surgery, this kind of tears are not going to extend to the periphery, and one can even plan to place an intraocular lens within the bag. And here you can see that this is a type 2 tear where the margins are quite thin, transparent and fluttering. So it suggests that the tear has occurred recently, and it's better to avoid placing lens within the bag because intraoperatively high chance there that it will extend to the periphery. So there's one more sign to know whether there is any occult posterior capsular dehiscence in cases of your advanced cataract. Is called your hydration of cortex or the sinking cortex sign. So here you will see a dimple-like empty space between your anterior lens capsule and the cortical matter, where you'll also see the bowing backwards of the cortical matter. And if you do either an ASOCT or even an IOL-Master 700, you will see the hydration of cortex along with irregularity of the posterior capsule, and this may suggest there is an occult posterior capsular dehiscence. Blunt trauma patients can present with your typical ciliate type cataract. Even they may present with your as a posterior subcapsular cataract or with signs of frank subluxation. So when the obvious subluxation is not visible, one should look for these warning signs. First is your visibility of the lens equator, either in primary or eccentric gauge. Here you can see that we can see the red glow along the equator, which suggests that there is deficiency of the zonules in that area. Wrinkling of the anterior lens capsule, even increase in the iridolenticular gap also suggests that there is something wrong with the zonules. Change in the contour of the lens periphery, and even if we see a focal iridodenesis, we should be cautious. These are the battery of tests which one has to do in cases of trauma, starting from meticulous history taking to proper counseling. Counseling here is very important because, as we know, that the patient with trauma, there is sudden loss of vision, and they want to get back to their pre-trauma vision as early as possible, which is sometimes very difficult when there is associated ocular comorbidities, and this has to be explained clearly to the patient. So some additional instruments are required while managing this kind of cataracts. First is your CTR, which will support the bag horizontally. Even one will need your modified CTR or CNS ring or an Ahmad segment. These two, the last two, are used to fix the bag to the sclera. The iris hook or the capsular hook supports the bag anteriorly, and one will also need a good dispersive agent like Viscoot, which acts as a very good tamponating agent. So this is a classification which I always follow while planning for my surgeries. Whenever there is zonal distance of less than 4 clock hour, only a standard CTR will do the job. And whenever there is zonal distance of 4 to 6 clock hour, I usually prefer a standard CTR with a CTS, capsular tension segment. Even one can also use your CNS ring in these cases. With zonal distance of 6 to 9 clock hour, I usually prefer one CTR and 2 CTS to suture it to the sclera, or else one can even use a modified CTR with 2 double loops to fix the back to the sclera. With profound zonal weakness of more than 9 clock hour, I usually plan to go for intracapsular cataract extraction with SFIOL. So the intraocular pressure is controlled with your interglaucoma medications, and sometimes it's better to achieve a soft eye in the intraoperative period by shrinking the vitreous by your hyperosmotic agents. Choice of anesthesia can be either local or general, but a general anesthesia is preferred for your penetrating injury cases. Incision can be placed either on the cornea or on the sclera, but it has to be on the least damaged area. Whenever there is any any foreign body inside the eye, like in this case there is intralenticular foreign body, it has to be removed before proceeding with the phacoemulsification. Here you can see that the foreign body is being removed with a pair of forceps. With your pupillary defect with dense synechias and all, it has to be released with your spatula by swiping it underneath, and sometimes one may need one may use the micro scissors to cut or sever the adhesions as well. Iris hooks can also be used to prevent the iris from coming into the your operating field. So while planning for your open globe injury, the lens is removed as a primary procedure when there is extensive damage of the lens with cortical matter in the anterior chamber. Here, as you can see here, along with the corneal tear, there is your extensive damage of the lens, and after repair of the cornea, cortical matter is the soft cataract is removed bimanually, and the plan is to preserve as much capsule as possible for future IOL implantation. The advantage of secondary lens removal is that we'll have an accurate IOL power calculation and a clear media for the surgery. We'll see some of the cases here. These two cases are non-subluxated traumatic cataract with intact anterior and posterior capsule. The video on the left side here, I'm operating under Varian, which projects the overlays on the surgeon's oculars and guide us to plan our incision, capsulorhexis, and even placement of an toric IOL. So I'm playing this video here just to emphasize that even premium lenses like toric IOLs can be planned in traumatic cataracts if there is no gross subluxation. So second, this is a case of your traumatic cataract with traumatic iridodialysis of around 2 to 3 clock hour. So I'm proceeding with placing the iris hooks so as to prevent the iris from coming into the operating field, and then the phaco will be routine because there is no subluxation or posterior capsular defect. Cataract was soft, so I am just emulsifying with low parameters. So once it is done, IOL is being placed. Now it's a turn to repair the iridodialysis. For that, I am using a 26 gauge needle. As you can see here, I am inserting the 26 gauge needle into the anterior chamber through the sclera from a distance of around 1.5 from the limbus, and it's coming out in the anterior chamber. And next, what I'm doing is I'm using your straight needle of a double arm tangential protein suture to pierce the iris as periphery as possible, and then docking it inside the 26 gauge needle which will be taken out with that. Similarly, the other arm is also be taken out by piercing the periphery of the iris. The pearl is here to pierce the periphery as possible of the root of the iris to prevent the iris peaking in the postoperative period. So after both the ends are out, tie the knot, and knot can be buried in the sclera. One can even use a scleral flap to do this technique. This is a case of your rupture of the anterior capsule following a blunt trauma. Here I am doing a manual small incision cataract surgery here. You can see that after staining, it's looking like an Argentinian flag sign. So this part, the ruptured capsule is converted into your partial capsular axis, the hyporhexis forceps. And as your status of the posterior capsule was not known, I'm using viscoelastics to both prolapse and deliver the nucleus out of the bag and out of the eye by gently depressing the posterior wound of the tunnel. As the cataract was quite soft, it came out very smoothly without any sudden collapse of the anterior chamber. So once I'm sure that the posterior capsule was intact, I'm placing a 3-piece lens within the capsular bag, which was quite stable here. So these cases are subluxed cataract of your 4 to 6 clock hour with vitreous. This video on the left side, here you can see that the subluxation of around 3 to 4 clock hour with vitreous in the anterior chamber. One more thing is that the patient has a very dense anterior lens fibrosis. So I will proceed with doing a gentle, limited anterior vitrectomy. The pearl is here not to do vigorous anterior vitrectomy because we lose the portion of the vitreous, and sometimes if you do too much of vitrectomy, the lens may tilt during surgery. Just do a limited vitrectomy so as to prevent the vitreous from coming into your operating field. Never allow the chamber to collapse, and one can even use viscoelastic to tamponate that area so that the vitreous won't come. Next, I'm starting with your axis in a relatively normal area. My plan is to circumvent this fibrous area. For that, I'm using a microhexis forceps here. You can see that that part is nicely negotiated, and continuing by holding at the base of the capsular axis gently. So once your axis is done, your 50% job is over. Now I am placing iris hooks to support the bag in the area of the zonal dehiscence, injecting viscoelastic just underneath the capsule, create space for the introduction of the CTR as well. So once it is done, CTR is being placed. The phaco, as the cataract was quite soft, I am removing the cataract with very low parameters, low bottle height, low flow rate, and never allowing the chamber to collapse whenever you are removing either the phaco probe or the irrigation cannula. So everything went on fine. I'm placing the bag, IOL within the bag. So as the dialysis is around 4 o'clock hour, only a CTR has done the job for me here. Next is the case of your zonal dehiscence of around 6 o'clock hour. Also you can see that the cataract is near mature with a dense anterior capsular fibrosis as well. So I am starting with staining the capsule for better visualization of the capsule, and then starting my capsular axis from a relatively normal area and continuing it with your capsular axis forceps. One has to be very careful while crossing the zonal dehiscence area. Better not to go too periphery, otherwise retrieving it back will be quite difficult. And at the end, I'm completed it with your microhexis forceps. Again, I'm supporting the bag with 2 iris hooks and placing the CTR. So here the pearl is that the CTR should be implanted from the opposite side of the zonal dehiscence so that the leading arm will go within the dialysis area and support the dialysis area first. As you can see, I'm doing it here. The leading part of the CTR has gone inside your dialysis area first, supporting it, and then your trailing part is inserted with the help of two instruments. And as you see that the cataract is quite soft. Luckily, in most of the cases, traumatic cataracts, the cataracts are quite soft and can be managed easily with your phacoemulsification. Soft cataract is emulsified with low parameters here. Even after cortic aspiration, lens is placed in the capsular bag. As we have seen that there is almost 6 clock hours on a day, since only a CTR will not do the job here. My plan is to implant a CTS, capsular tension segment in this case. For that I am making a Hoffman pocket here, starting from the limbus. Incision is made at the limbus, and then tunneling is made to the crescent in the backward direction. The sclera is marked at 1.5, and here you can see that this is your CTS. Through the eyelid I have passed one straight needle of a double arm tangent proin suture, and both the straight needles will be taken out one by one with the help of your Twinsky gauge needle railroad technique. One is to be very gentle and very careful in introduction of this Twinsky gauge needle. It should not pierce the capsule. So when both the needles are out, the CTS is implanted in the bag with the fixation hook above the rhexis margin. Both the ends of the suture are taken out from the opening of the Hoffman's pocket and then tied. You can see the lens is well centered here. Next, the case of your subluxation of around 6 clock hour. Here you can see that the cataract is very dense with wrinkling of the lens capsule suggesting gross zonular weakness. I am doing a manual small incision cataract surgery here. The exercise started with your rhexis forceps, your cystitome, and then I'll be continuing it with your rhexis forceps. You can see the lens is moving a lot, and I felt that the rhexis was quite small, a little bit small as compared to the grade of the nucleus, so I have done a double rhexis, partial double rhexis at least on one side. Again, the bag is stabilized with your iris hooks, and a CTR is being implanted in the capsular bag. And next I'll be doing your gentle hydro dissection and delineation. Delineation will reduce somehow the size of the endonucleus, and which can be produced out by bimanual technique. So in bimanual technique, we need two instruments. You can see that Sinki hook is in my one hand, and other hand I am using a cyclodialysis spatula. So the Sinki hook will go towards the equator. It will lift the nucleus out. Once the nucleus is out, I have introduced my second instrument, that is a spatula underneath the nucleus, which will act like a fulcrum, and over which the nucleus is dialed out. This will reduce the stress on the remaining zonules. So once it is out, the nucleus is delivered with a regulating practice, and cortex is removed with a Sinco cannula through the tunnel by lifting the interleaf of the wound, which will make the chamber well formed. One can even use your side ports to remove the cortex. Once the cortex is being removed, I have to place a CTS here for switching the bag to the sclera because of profound zonal weakness, and the single tube lens is placed in the capsular bag, which is well centered. I'm to say that in this case there was no vitreous disturbances throughout the surgery. This is a case of an thorn injury of long duration. Here you can see that even the entire capsule is fibrosed, and also you can see a faint view of posterior capsular rupture as well. So starting the surgery, initially it will be all routine. Capsular rhexis will be routine. Once the capsular rhexis is done, I'll avoid doing hydro dissection. I'll do hydro delineation, and I'll do your visco dissection. I'm inserting dispersive viscoelastic just to have a protective cushion over the posterior capsular opening. And then the soft cataract will be emulsified with low parameters. And once the posterior capsule opening was visible, I will put viscoelastic to tamponate the area. And the remaining nuclear material is viscoprolapsed. out of the bag in a safe zone in the pupillary plane and will be emulsified with low parameters. Never allow the chamber to collapse here again. And here you can see that the margins, posterior margins are quite thick and fibrous, suggesting it to be a type 1 tear. And hoping that it won't extend, I am placing the single piece lens within the capsular bag here. So this is a case of your gross subluxation, almost more than 9 clock hour with partial subluxation of the lens in the anterior chamber as well. So my plan is to do an intracapsular cataract extraction with your SFL. I usually prefer the Gabors technique with little bit of modifications. So for that, I've started I have marked 1.5 from the limbus, and I'm first making the Charrier tunnel here. It should be done on both the sides. It should be parallel to the limbus. I'm just staining it for better visualization. It's better to do this Charrier tunnel when the AC is well formed before entering the anterior chamber. Once the Charrier tunnel is done, I will be doing all the tunnel side ports. So you can see that the anterior, the tunnel is being fashioned here. Visco is injected. AC is entered with keratome. Sorry. And very loose loose cataract is prolapse. The two instrument, you can see very few attachment of the zonules. Visco is injected to push the vitreous down, and the whole nucleus is cataract is removed gently without any vitreous disturbance. As an anterior segment surgeon, we have to do a thorough anterior vitrectomy. Even we have to go below the iris and do the vitrectomy to remove as much vitreous as possible. And I always prefer to use a AC maintainer, which will make the globe well formed throughout the surgery. Sorry for the age. So next, vitrectomy is being done, AC maintainer is being added. Now what I'm doing it, I'm made a sclerotomy on with your 24 gauge needle on both the sides, exactly opposite to each other, directing it towards the vitreous, center of the vitreous. And here, what I'm doing is I've taken a 3-piece rigid lens and I have passed a your 90 nylon suture through a dialing hole of the IOL. This is called the sling technique, which has recently got published in the Indian Journal of Ophthalmology in the April issue of this year. So here, what we do, we just pass your 90 or 10 nylon suture through a dialing hole of the IOL, which will act like a sling or leash, and it prevents your IOL during this kind of manipulation. Sometimes when a novice surgeon is doing, there can be IOL drop or even IOL slippage. So coming back to this case, IOL with the sling attached will be introduced in the anterior chamber. The leading haptic, the tip is grabbed with your end gripping forceps. It's taken out, and I usually prefer to fix the IOL, the haptic inside the Charrier tunnel first before proceeding with the second. Then the second haptic is introduced inside the anterior chamber, and with handshake technique, it will be taken out in a similar way. And once I am assured that the IOL is well centered, this sling will be cut and removed. You can see that the lens is well centered. So this is my last case. This is a case of again a case of your 3 to 4 clock hours zonal dehiscence with your ALC fold, maybe because of fibrosis here. And here I was not that fortunate enough to have a good rhexis margin. There was extension here, so implantation of a CTR is not there. You cannot implant a CTR whenever the rhexis is not intact. So I proceeded with my surgery, multi-quadrant hydro delineation to reduce the size. The smaller endonucleus is being removed, and so as the epinucleus. You can see that the capsular support is not adequate on one side, so I decided to go ahead with the iris suturing of the IOL of at least one haptic. So for that, I am passing a Tanjiro nylon, so Tanjiro Protein suture, straight suture through and through the iris, and the loop which is there below the iris will be taken out with the help of Courglan's hook out of the tunnel. This animated video will further explain. The loop is taken out of the tunnel and will be looped twice in the leading haptic of the IOL, 3-piece IOL, and carefully the leading haptic is placed in the sulcus, followed by your trailing haptic. So once it is done, both the suture ends will be taken out through a single paracentesis for tying it in the manner of 3-1-1-1. So the pearl is here to avoid over tightening of the knot, which will lead to your peaking of the pupil at the postoperative period. So you can see that at the end, S is well formed, IOL well centered with a round pupil. So to conclude, I'm to say that every case is different, and so is the approach. Although the traumatic cataract is extremely difficult to manage, but with your excellent surgical skill and timely management, we can prevent complications and provide better visual acuity. Thank you. Thank you for listening.